Hey everybody, Corey here from West Pecan Coffee, the home of our upcoming ALC Bingo and IJM fundraiser. But that's not the point of this message. After talking with a friend this week and really talking about last Sunday's message, I feel it important to send a brief update, even correction to what was said. Paul writes in 2 Corinthians 9, verse 7, he says, "Each one must give as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver." In the sermon, I said something along the lines of, if our giving is not cheerful, God would just rather us not. And I don't, after talking with this friend, I don't believe that to be holistically true. Yes, it is God's preference for us to give cheerfully. He wants us to want to give. He delights in our delight. He doesn't want it to be a duty. Just like you and I don't want to receive something from someone that feels like it's a duty versus if they delight in giving to us, right? That's always our preference. It's also true that God does not want us to give reluctantly or under compulsion. He doesn't want it to be some obligatory, grumbly generosity, right? Like, oh, I guess I have to give, God needs me to give my money or something like that. Like that, God's not interested in that. But at the same time, I believe there is a God-honoring way for us to give that in the moment may not be the most cheerful of giving, and yet it is still loving and honoring to God when we do so. Let me explain. Sometimes I believe that we obey out of discipline. And it may not be what we want to do the most in that moment, but because we love what we are doing or we love who we are serving, we do it anyways. There really is a want to at our core, even though our flesh may not feel it so much. So sometimes I think that we can give generously because God tells us to, and we want to honor Him, and we want to obey Him. And there's still be a simultaneous tension inside of us. Maybe our flesh even doesn't want to. Maybe it's not so cheerful in the moment, but deep down we ultimately want to honor God, and so we do it. I believe that still honors God, even if we wouldn't call it necessarily cheerful at the moment. We can still work towards it being cheerful and try to grow in that way. The good thing is, in my experience, I found that as we discipline ourselves to continually obey, even if we're not feeling it so much, more often than not, the feelings will follow at some point. And on top of that, it's crazy that God says we get to store up treasures in heaven that way, right? Like, that just blows me away that in so doing, even if my heart is not as cheerful, we still get to store up treasures in heaven. And so I believe that God is honored. He desires for us to give cheerfully, but even sometimes when we're not feeling it the most, yet we discipline ourselves to do so out of obedience, I believe God is still honored. And so just to recap and to conclude, I just want to end with some reminders. God doesn't need our money. His bank account is fine. And so He invites us to give, not because He needs something from us, but He wants to give something to us. He wants it for our own good. As we give generously, we become more like Jesus, which is our original purpose. It's why God designed us, to know Him and to become like Him. So the more that we become like Him, the more that we thrive in His presence, and that is where the fullness of life is found. And on top of that, we store up a harvest of righteousness that one day we'll get to see what that means and what that looks like. So anyways, I hope this to help give some clarification. I appreciate the phone call. I'm not going to get it right every time. That is for certain. And I love that someone was willing to call and talk about it with me. And hopefully this helped give some clarification and even correction to what I said on Sunday. I love you guys, and we will see you all this upcoming Sunday. Have a great week. Bye.